Would you like an opinion on a financial matter you're dealing with? Whether it's about retirement, investments, taxes, or 401ks, Scott Hansen and Pat McClain would like to help you by answering your call. To join Allworth's Money Matters, call now at 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-99-WORTH.
Welcome to Allworth's Money Matters. I'm Scott Hansen.
I'm Pat McClain.
Glad you are joining us today as we talk about financial matters. Both myself and my co-host here, we are both financial advisors, certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant, and we've got a lot of experience helping people with their finances, and we do this program to help you as well and to be your financial advisors on the air. We love taking your calls, answering questions that you bring to us. Frankly, that's the most interesting part.
It is.
I don't think I could do this show without that.
There is no way. I just can't hear myself talk that long.
And we don't want this just a one-way information dump. I love the real world situations that people deal with.
Oh, I listen to a lot of financial talk shows, and most of them
Do you really?
I do. They are hour-long.
Do you watch CNBC as well? Financial
No,
news?
but I listen when I'm working in the yard or,
The financial stuff.
The financial stuff.
I can't stand financial stuff when I'm out working.
Really?
I
do. And most of them are hour-long commercials talking about, quite frankly, what they are is their investment shows disguised as shows to sell index annuities or life insurance
It
policies.
seems like a lot of them.
And this is not that show, by the way. In fact, we don't like index annuities, and life insurance plays a small role in people's financial picture. Cash value life insurance. Obviously, term life insurance, very, very important. And I got that off my chest. Why don't we take some calls?
Okay.
833-99-WORTH. That's 833-999-6784. And you can always reach us at questions@moneymatters.com.
Now, to be clear, if you send us an email at questions@moneymatters.com, we're not going to answer your question because we're not going to answer every question that comes. But if you would like to say, hey, I think I'd like to get booked to be on one of these programs in the future with your question, would love to take your question and have you on the show. And so questions@moneymatters.com. We'll get you on there. And we're going to start off with
Donnie, right?
Yeah, Donnie. Donnie, you're with Allworth Money Matters.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
So I just started getting into investing. At first, when I was younger, it was typical. I'd work, and then everything went to credit card bills, and I hardly had any savings. And then up until wanting to travel to South Korea, that's when I learned how to save. And then after doing that, I started investing in cryptocurrency. And now I have a good chunk of money, and I kind of don't know where to reinvest it because all I've really known is cryptocurrency. So I guess I was calling for advice to see, some more low-risk investments that I can do that aren't like traditionals like Roth IRAs or indexes.
Since we live in a relative world, what is a big chunk of money?
Well, I guess for me, so I went from, having like a max of $2,000 in my account to now I have about $30,000 in crypto. And now, since I live at home, I'm just and I don't have to pay rent or I don't have any big bills. I'm trying to make, my money matter while I don't have any of these bills. So I'm trying to figure out the best ways to reinvest it and increase my portfolio and assets that isn't in cryptocurrency.
Let me ask you this question. What kind of annual rate of return do you expect over the next decade with this $30,000?
I don't know. If I kept it all in crypto,
It could be.
It's very volatile, but if you look at Bitcoin and if I went off that trend, it could be a lot.
Okay.
It could be very.
How old are you?
I just turned 24.
Okay. Well, let's differentiate between two. First of all, my recommendation is actually put the money in an ultra short-term bond fund and
earn nothing on it.
And earn nothing on it and develop yourself as an investor. You have never been an investor. You've been a speculator. And so people tell me that they invest in cryptocurrencies, but that is not investing. That is speculating because cryptocurrencies don't produce anything. The only reason cryptocurrencies go up is because someone else is willing to pay more. And you just happen to land on a cryptocurrency that went up, because the ones that flame out, you never hear about. And there have been dozens and dozens and dozens of cryptos that have come to market and have flamed.
Do you have a full-time job?
No, I'm on state insurance right now, so
Okay.
not yet. So I'm planning on.
So I want you to read. I want you to.
What's state insurance? Unemployment insurance?
So state, it's just so I can get proper mental health care.
Oh, got it. So you should read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. That's what you should do. And so I would take half that profit off the cryptocurrencies immediately and put it in a bank account.
I would too.
At least half, and put it in a savings account. Because, you talked about volatility. It is unbelievable volatile. You started with a little bit. You've got a lot now. So, Donnie, take half of it off. Just bring it down, put it in the local bank. You got that done. If the rest of it flames out, then at least you got all that profit. If it triples, then
at least you've left half in.
At least you've left half in. And then read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. And that actually talks about investing in savings. And it's a relatively easy book to understand, but it's a philosophical
and you will not become a multi-millionaire as an investor.
Yes.
You might as a saver who then invests the savings. But to think that somehow you're going to be able to pick the latest things and be able to just trade your way and never have to work.
So it's The Richest Man in Babylon. And what's the other one? The Barber. What is it called?
These are both old books. They're just kind of classics, though.
The Millionaire Barber, something like that.
What is that?
What's it called? I don't know. We'll look it up.
It all for me was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
It's all right. It's all right. He's got quite a bias towards real estate, and there's nothing wrong with real estate as a portion of the portfolio, but the bias is pretty heavy there, and it
a lot of those followers did not do well during the financial crisis.
It's not a bad book. It wouldn't hurt you if you read that one, The Millionaire Next Door and The Rich Barber. And not The Millionaire Next Door, The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm getting all these titles. The Richest Man in Babylon and the Rich Barber. I think
it's The Rich Barber. I don't think it's The Rich Barber. It's something Barber, and it's an old. It's
an old book.
Yeah,
so anyway, appreciate the car. Appreciate the call. Thanks, Donnie.
Wish you well, Donnie, and
remember,
it'll be interesting to see how this whole crypto thing ends up in the next 10 years.
Yeah. It's going to have. We've said it here for 3-4 years now. Blockchain will have a place in the economy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Cryptocurrencies
may or may not. I don't know.
It's hard to say. It depends on how governments are reacting.
What's interesting is how much power, how much energy it takes to mine a Bitcoin anymore. You've read about some of these towns where someone's got all these servers in their basement trying to mine it. And I'm thinking, what kind of impact does that have on the economy? In this whole era of green, the cryptocurrency, it's like the opposite of being helpful.
Yes.
Anyway, there's somebody listening thinking, these guys don't understand crypto. Fair. I mean, I understand enough, but and if you want to use that as if
you want to speculate in it, have fun. I wouldn't base my long-term financial plan on a cryptocurrency.
I would not either. All right, let's continue on with calls here. 833-99-WORTH is the number to be part of Allworth's Money Matters. 833-99-WORTH. We are talking with Amy. Amy, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Hi.
I actually have a couple questions. One is in regards to like whole life policies and if they're a good tool for like retirement planning if you're trying to make things equal in division of assets upon your death. And then the other one has to do with oil royalty income and if there's tax strategies to kind of guard against that fluctuating income because it's not as steady. So sometimes it can bump you up into a different tax bracket.
All right, so
I'll let you decide if you have time to answer both or just
we do.
one.
We do. So let's start with the oil one first. Do you own any oil producing properties now? Or is it something that you're looking to purchase?
No. So Okay, so my dad owns mineral rights.
Okay.
We have a family LLC currently for part of those, so I am currently getting
Okay.
kind of like some royalty money every month. But then I also stand to gain more once my father eventually passes.
Okay, perfect.
But even right now, because of the income, I mean, we've made as low as 40,000 in a year, and as much as like 120,000 in a year off of our current, what I'm currently getting.
Yep.
And how old are you?
I'm 52.
Any kids at home?
No, they're grown. I mean, they're both on there. I have one married daughter and then a son that's in college.
And a spouse?
Yes.
And your father eventually passes away. You'll get another chunk of inheritance. Is the family LLC set up now so that when you eventually pass on, it goes to your kids, or you have some rights to transfer some interest to your children?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it would probably. I'm not exactly sure how that would go. I mean, we have a will set up, so whatever assets I'm currently getting would somehow go into my estate. But
Okay. So you asked, is there any way I could actually hedge against price fluctuations in the oil markets? Is what the question was.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, you can. The question is, should you? Right? You can use derivatives, puts. You could use different contracts, derivative contracts in the oil marketplace in order to lock that price in, right? Because it's commodity, and you can trade commodity contracts in order to set a price. The question is, should you, or should you just live with the volatility?
Well, I think is your hope to smooth that out, or is your hope to reduce your taxes on the high income years?
kind of probably more that, because if it pushes us up into a higher tax bracket, yeah, just to try to save on taxes. But maybe there's not a guard against that. I don't know.
The only thing you've got a few options to look into do. One is you can have a portion of your LLC interest transferred to your children now. So that way that portion would flow directly to them rather than to you. Whether that would be a good idea to do or not, I don't know.
Probably not.
You can reduce other income that's coming into your household by not working as much. You can gift to charity. That's kind of about
for tax purposes. And you could use different derivatives in order to stabilize the price. But I wouldn't. I would just live with it. That's what I would do.
And now you asked the question about the whole life insurance. And the reason I asked about beneficiaries for the LLC, if you were to tell me that the LLC, your proceeds are going to be transferred to somebody else upon your death and not to your children, and you wanted to figure out a vehicle to guarantee that they'd receive some inheritance, then that might actually be a period of time when the whole life could make sense, because whole life, in my opinion, only works if you need it for your whole life.
But that's not the case.
That's not the case.
So why are you considering whole life insurance?
Yeah, well, so we're kind of also my husband and I are doing a little bit of retirement planning, kind of in the first stages of just understanding and getting some ideas. So along with our property, we own an event center business. So we have 10 acres of property with our main house, a guest house, and this business. Mm-hmm. And if it were me, I would just sell it all now, take whatever there is, downsize, and then, invest the rest, whatever. And then when we die, then it's just split in half between our daughter and son. That would be the easy way. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunately, but our son is potentially wanting to take over that business and would potentially want to stay on the property and basically take that over. At this point, I don't see and I have no idea what it's valued at, but just for a rough, just easy figuring, say it's valued at $2 million for everything. He would have to, upon our death, would have to get a loan for $1 million.
That's right.
To pay his sister out because she doesn't want anything to do with any of it.
That's right.
So, and I don't think that that's feasible. So what I'm thinking is, would a whole life insurance policy be a good tool to offset that, so he would not have to get a loan, but she would get some kind of a cash benefit?
What's your family income?
Well, again, that fluctuates based on.
Let's leave the oil out. Let's leave the oil out.
Well, so like I said, we're kind of going into retirement now. So my husband's just off of his retirement right now, 3,000 times 12 is
Okay,
approximately.
36,000 a year.
Yeah, and then with our event center business right now, we're making, and again, it was just for kind of supplemental retirement, so it was basically replacing my income. So it can be anywhere from like 40 to 50,000 a year.
Okay.
It could potentially be more. We just don't want to
So
be that busy.
what? This is interesting. You've got a really interesting situation. I think we started that show by we like taking calls because this is interesting.
It's very interesting.
Your son, when would he take over the events business?
Well, that could possibly be within the next, or start transitioning within the next couple of years. He should be out of college in another year or so, and he's just recently gotten pretty serious with a girl, which could possibly mean a marriage by next summer. So we've been having conversations that they really would want to do that, and so him and his wife would do that together.
Let's say it's all worth $2 million today, but what if your son worked extremely hard, was very successful, and this $2 million became worth $3 million or $4 million?
Who gets that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Does your daughter get it? Your son get it? So better than what you're doing now. And what other assets are out there besides the event center? Money in IRAs, bank accounts, that sort of thing. How much money?
Yeah, we have probably in just like CDs, because right now we're just kind of conservative. We've not had the opportunity previous years to really invest. So right now I only have about 18,000 each currently in our Roth IRAs that I just started a year ago.
Uh-huh.
And then we have about 175,000 in just savings. It's either in CDs or
all right. So
like
Amy,
online savings.
So if you were my little sister, and you came to me with this, I would say that let your son come and work at the center for a year or two, and see how it goes. See how it goes.
Yeah, and we were planning on kind of using this next wedding season to kind of do that and let him kind of...
And see if he likes it. If he likes it and you actually are comfortable with it, then what you do is you sell it to him on a structured note.
Yes, you sell it to him.
You sell it to him before you die on a structured note. And a structured note says he pays for it over 10 years, 15 years, whatever. Because the problem you're going to run into, and I've seen this multiple times, your son goes and works for the event center. Let's just say he crushes it, cleans it up. Now the event center is worth $10 million. You pass away. He goes to his sister and says, I don't think you should get any of this because I built this.
Yeah,
it's me, right? At the same time, let's just say that he actually tanks the thing, just runs it into the ground. He goes, you, mom and dad pass away. And then
I get half the assets.
Yeah. And she's like, you ran this thing into the ground, you know? So you've got to be really careful. And he may or may not want to work at this thing. Has he ever worked there before?
He's helped us in general, but not like where he's had to like be here when we're actually running the event.
Yeah.
He helps us set up.
But he's not selling the contracts. He's not touring the people on the grounds. He's not telling them how beautiful the wedding's going to be. And
the weather's always perfect. No thunderstorms ever in the afternoon.
Never happens. It's gorgeous. No one that's ever had their reception here has ever gotten a divorce. He doesn't have all the lines down, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't be, first of all, I don't think you could afford the premiums on a whole life insurance, number one. Number two, I don't think it's the right solution. Any life insurance policy is the right solution at this time. I would just take a wait and see approach. And once he came and worked in the business, find out if he likes it. You know, maybe he likes it, marries this young lady, graduates from college, moves to the event center. And she's like, wait, every weekend? Like they're
right.
I have a relative that actually got a degree in hospitality and then went to work for a winery and was disappointed because she had to work every weekend. I'm like, what did you think was going to happen?
What they teach you in college? You have a degree in hospitality.
Anyway.
I thought that people only wanted to be pampered like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
I know, like I worked in a restaurant. Why didn't they come in before 7? I like to get home at 7. So anyway, I would take it easy. I wouldn't do anything. Wouldn't make. Any
I would not buy
decisions.
any life insurance.
And
policy.
you should absolutely not buy any life insurance. All righty.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
glad
you
you
very
called
much.
me.
Appreciate the call and good luck on this. I know it's been a rough season for event centers.
Gosh.
So hopefully you got a little PPP loan and you'll get through this.
You know, we actually are very blessed to live in a very conservative area, and we haven't had to deal with a lot of restrictions. So
Where do you
it's
live?
actually been in our favor.
Where are you calling from?
We live in Colorado, but we live in an area. Our county is Weld County, and we're just very conservative, and our kind of powers that be just haven't done a lot of major enforcement. So it's worked for us.
All righty. All right. We appreciate the call. Call us back in a year or two when your son goes to work there and he's crushing it, knocking it out of the park, and then we will walk you through the next steps.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate the call.
Glad you called.
Okay.
Let's continue on here with Seema. Seema, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Scott and Pat. Thank you for
Hi,
taking
Seema.
my call. Hi.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of this show and listen to you guys every Saturday for the podcast, and I've learned a lot from you.
Well, that's very
So-
kind.
Well,
Thank you.
And thank you for calling the show.
Sure. My question today is about selling a property and how it affects my retirement. I am 53 years old. I hope to retire in about 7 to 10 years. A big chunk of my money is tied up in a house in the Bay Area. I moved out of this house into a rental studio in August of 2018. So as of August of this year, I am coming up on the 2 out of 5 rule.
Mm-hmm.
So did you lived in this house before and then moved and started renting?
Yes. Yes.
How much is the house worth?
Anywhere between 1.4 to 1.6.
And what did you pay for it?
$920.
And what was the plan when you moved into the rental?
The plan was to downsize, to buy a smaller house eventually.
What do you owe on your home?
$260,000.
What do you think you should do?
Well, I have 2 options. That's why I'm calling. One is to sell the house just because the property values they've gone up by so much, and take my money out, put half towards the down payment on a new place, a smaller place, and invest half. Or I can keep it as a rental, have the tenant pay the rent, pay the mortgage, and I have some money saved up as a.
How much rent do they pay?
They pay $4,000 a month.
And what other money do you have outside of the value of this home in bank, brokerage, IRAs, that sort of thing?
I have about $780,000 in a 401k.
Okay.
I have about $120,000 in the bank. I opened a Roth IRA last year because I learned from you guys that I can do that. So I only have about $25,000 in that.
All right. And single? Did I ask that question already?
Yes. No, I'm single. Yes. So I will not get the full benefit.
The return on the rental only pencils out if that value continues to increase.
And what is your annual income, excluding investments and the rent from this?
Okay, that is my taxable income, not
Yes.
not including how much I give for 401ks and things.
That's
It's $130,000.
I got to tell you, if you sold the house and you bought a house for cash that you think that you're going to live in for the next 15 years, you set yourself up for retirement that is just unbelievable. Just think about that. You pay cash for a house, right? Mm-hmm. You save that much more for retirement. You're 53 years of age. You work for another 7 years. I like it. I would sell that house.
I would too.
Scott?
Yes.
I mean,
you wouldn't today if you were renting a place, say, I've got this cash. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go buy a $1.5 million house and rent it out with a $250,000, $260,000. You wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that.
So if you wouldn't structure it that way, and you have the opportunity to unstructure, particularly you've got a time frame, a window between now and August. It's coming up quick.
Without any tax implications.
Well, it's $250,000 free of gain.
Yes.
Yeah, I still would have
some tax on
about
it. Yeah.
$50,000 taxes, and
yeah,
but not a lot.
Yeah, and I still think I like the plan that you've been thinking about. I would go with that. Sima.
I would go with that. I'd sell that house.
Plan.
I'd actually I'd start interviewing realtors tomorrow.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Can't get enough of Allworth's Money Matters? Visit allworthfinancial.com/radio to listen to the Money Matters podcast.
Welcome back to Allworth's Money Matters. Scott Hansen.
Pat McClain.
Hey, before we go back to the calls, and by the way, if you'd like to join us, two ways you can join us. You can call 833-99-WORTH, or you can send an email, questions@moneymatters.com. Either way, we're going to get you in the queue to get you lined up to be on the program. That way we record midweek. I'd love to have you.
Yeah, but if you send an email to questions@moneymatters.com and you're like, okay, here's my question. Is a dog's mouth cleaner than a human's? We will not answer that.
The answer is yes.
I don't know. I heard that as a kid.
I don't.
And I always thought, who took the time to actually do the experiment?
And who cares?
That's right. Anyway, so the reason you would email questions@moneymatters.com is so you could book a time to be on the show.
And want to let people know that we've got retirement income planning clinics that are beginning on Tuesday, April 27th, so just this week. They're broken into smaller groups that they're smaller than our virtual workshops. They've got more interactions, and I think you'll find them helpful. So if you're thinking about your own retirement, how do you generate income and whatnot, I think it would be helpful.
So how do these work, Scott? Actually, this is the first time I've heard about this. So we do these large virtual workshops, and these are clinics so that people can ask more questions.
I don't actually know.
That's the premise behind it?
Here's what I know. I know that our team has invested in newer technology that's not just like a Zoom presentation where we've really embraced how do we engage people, because it's not the same as going in person when you're doing something remote.
That's right.
How do we make sure people's attention spans aren't as long? So we follow the best science out there of engaging with people for an education. Our hope is that we do these things so people make wiser choices with their finances. It's plain and simple. We want people to have the highest probability of success.
So these are smaller groups where you'll have more interaction one-to-one with a financial advisor.
That's right.
Versus 300 people.
That's
or
right.
400 people or whatever on a virtual workshop.
Simply go
So this isn't all one way.
No.
Highly interactive.
Go to allworthfinancial.com, and if you click on workshops, there's a tab there that says workshops. You can sign up.
And these are free because we haven't figured out yet how to charge for them.
All right. Let's go back to calls here. Again, 833-99-WORTH. We're talking with William. William, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Oh, hi. I called you about 3 years ago concerning retirement and Social Security. You said I couldn't retire, but to take the Social Security, because I had two kids under 18, so I took the extra payments every month for them.
Oh, good.
But, yeah, I did that advice. I want to retire now.
Okay.
I'm 69. One of the children's 21. He's going to graduate this May, but the other two don't want to go to college right now because of the virtual, and they actually don't know what they want to do.
And how old are they?
They're 19.
Okay.
And they'll be 20 this December, but I have 2 years saved in 529 for them. Here's my situation now, though, is that I can retire in July and have a yearly income of about $120,000 with Social Security and the pension. If I take the 50% joint survivor annuity, or I can get a lump sum of $1.3 million. I have a property of
So right there,
$300,000.
If the option to me were, well, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, Scott, you give me $1.3 million, I'm going to give you $120,000."
But he included Social Security in that number. What's the pension without the lump? What's your pension? So you said with pension and Social Security. What is the pension amount versus the lump sum?
Well, the pension, I can get 50% joint, 66 joint, 75 joint,
correct,
things like that.
Correct. But so
Yeah.
you have
Is there
a lump sum option
Yeah.
on this, do you not?
Yes, 1.3.
Okay, and so what is the single life only pension option on this?
The single life is $7,642. I
Okay.
don't have the yearly thing. That's a monthly payment.
All right, perfect. That's all we need. And you're 69 years of age.
Yeah, my wife's 56, but she has early onset Parkinson's, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry.
But
Okay, all right.
I guess there's prognosis for 20 years on that.
And so then tell us about your, you started on this other property when we rudely interrupted you. Tell us about the other property.
I have a piece of dirt. It's valued around $300,000, and I also have a 401k of $1.2 million. No debt.
No,
and I
nothing
have
at all.
Cash. Pardon me?
Nothing, no mortgage, anything.
Well, that's the problem. I have absolutely no debt, and I have $650,000 in cash, but I rent. And what we were going to do is build a house up on this piece of property.
And how much will the house cost?
Well, a couple months ago it was about 200 a square foot, but now it's up to 300 square foot because of the chain to
Everything.
So how many square feet? And if it was 2 square feet, it wouldn't be a problem.
Tiny house. No problem. You and your wife could each have your own tiny house.
So
well, here's the problem, and everybody says to me, I said I have to build like 3,500 to 4,000 because I still have the kids. They're still at home.
Well, hopefully they're not going to be there forever, maybe, or maybe you want them there forever. So let's just say 3,000 square feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want them to leave, by the way, if you want them to leave, all you got to do is build a really, really small house. And put like a little bunk room in there with no room to set up a gaming table or anything.
And actually, their bed has to be in your bedroom as well.
They won't leave. There are ways to get them out.
Yeah, but for resale too,
Okay.
up in this particular area, it's over wine country and stuff.
So let's just say that you use the $650,000 in cash to build the house.
Yeah.
Right? So that's 2,200 square feet. Let's call it 3,000 square feet. So at 3,000,
I mean, you could provide a
grand.
roof for. They're not going to live with you forever, right? It's
Yeah.
going to take a couple years to build the house if you actually started the planning process.
I don't know if you've been out there, but
I don't know
they
what you're
don't
talking
leave
about.
these kids anywhere. They're there till 26 and stuff like that, or they're coming home. Especially a lot of people I work with, they went to college and they're back home again.
Well, they don't. You don't have to provide luxurious accommodations for them.
Yeah, we're going to worry about you because the call you asked if you could retire. You didn't ask if the kids could retire. So we're going to assume that the kids are going to leave at some point in time. And by the way, if most people never starve in America, they don't get the lifestyle they want, but they don't starve. Most people. So let's talk about your situation. So you've got $7,640 a month or lump sum, and your wife has early onset Parkinson's, which will has a great likelihood of shortening her life expectancy. Your cash is $1.2 million and $650,000 in cash. You can retire now. You can retire comfortably now.
I'm just concerned about the house.
So the house isn't a big deal. What are you worried about the house for?
I don't have one.
What are you paying rent now?
26.
I know, but you're going to build a house, and you have the means to do that.
If you took the $650, even if it cost you a little bit more, you don't have the rent anymore.
No, but that's what I'm asking you. Do you think I can build this house and retire.
Yes.
What are you used to living on? What is your income now? If you tell me it's $1 million a year, then I'm thinking, well, you can retire. You just can't maintain your lifestyle.
That's another. Well, normally when I work, it's when I worked full time, it's 250, 300, but now I've been only part time. It's about 180.
Yeah, you can retire. I remember the phone call. I actually remember the phone call.
Remember that?
I do remember the phone call because you had young kids.
Which is why we encourage you to take Social Security so you can get benefit for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were over the normal retirement age, which is it was like right at the right time.
Yeah. No, but I wasn't because you told me I couldn't retire. So that's why I'm still working.
Yeah, but it didn't mean that you shouldn't take Social Security. That was a great call.
I did take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did take it.
Let me ask you this. Let's assume you had your home paid for. Let's assume you had a house. A home was paid for. Could you live off the $120,000 a year?
Oh, yeah, with 401k, it'd be about 150. Oh, I'd walk out the next day.
Well, my point is, you may not even have to tap the 401k. That's our point. But you could easily tap the 401k. Let's say 3% distribution on the 401k. It would give you another $3,000 a month.
Even if you had a small mortgage, is going to be less than your rent now.
Yeah.
Well, do you think I can take some out of the 401k to help pay off some of this house right away?
Oh, yes. In fact, if you're going to retire tomorrow, let's say you retire tomorrow, if you sat down with a good financial advisor and they go, okay, I'm going to retire tomorrow, I'm going to start building this house today, we would actually design a plan to see if we could actually get enough money out of the 401k in those 2 years to help pay off the house in full the minute you move in.
And you got to run the tax computation because it may or may not be worthwhile.
But even let's just say you don't do it and we get a 10-year mortgage or even a 5-year mortgage or even a variable rate or a 30-year mortgage. Maybe you don't even care, right?
No, I don't care, no.
Yeah. I'd say if you had to borrow a couple $100,000 and had a 30-year mortgage, the payment's almost nothing. The money's almost free right now.
Yeah, who cares?
Really?
Yeah, you can retire. And you could build this house.
I just hate debt. So
well, of course you hate debt.
I pay cash for everything. But
but look, there is
or we carve off some portion of the 401k. You could pay cash. The challenge is you might end up paying a whole lot more in taxes on that 401k withdrawal in order to get the cash.
So let's lay this out as a scenario. Let's say you got a $150,000 mortgage and you hate debt. What we would do for psychological reasons is you would take $220,000 out of that 401k and move it to an own individual IRA and have that IRA essentially pay that debt every month. So you've matched maturities between the IRA and the debt that you have. So in your mind, the debt is paid for is one of the options. It all comes out in the wash, but psychologically, it will actually make you feel okay about the debt.
Well, the mortgage is okay. I can go with 200,000 if I think I'm comfortable taking down a 401k to 900,000 to pay down the payments on that house after it's done built.
The question is
there's a number of ways you can get there. Bottom line,
you can retire.
I don't think you'd have any problem.
Not at all. And you should sit down with a qualified advisor to plan it out. But I'm sure you're ready. And we told you last time you weren't.
I know.
Same guys.
That's why I'm still here.
Well, it might have been a bad mood that day. Just telling no to everybody.
Thanks a lot. Take it out on me.
No, you're golden, William. You're golden.
Let me ask you one thing: lump sum or 50% joint or single life annuity?
Does it affect your health benefits at all?
100% paid for. I have no health benefits.
Got it.
I mean, they're all paid for. I'm sorry. For me and the kids and the family till they're 26.
Okay,
so.
I wouldn't take a joint survivor due to your wife's condition.
Yeah, but she said she might live another 20 years.
Yeah, that's
She's 56.
what they told her. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got another $1.3 million there, Scott. So we're talking about $1.2 million. So we're talking about $2.5 million.
This is a significant decision that I would not make in 1 minute.
That's right.
Running the numbers in my head. I mean, you need to run through the calculations on this and look at it. All comes down to probabilities. What's going to give you the greatest both you and your wife, the greatest probability of success in retirement? My guess is the lump sum's not going to work that well for you, because the problem is the older you get, the less your remaining life expectancy is. So in order to replace that same monthly amount, unless you're comfortable drawing down on your principal, the more challenging it is to get that lump sum to work for you.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm really healthy too. I have no health problems at all. So
Yeah,
Then
and
you're
then
probably
the question is,
Which
your
survivor
only
option?
choice joint and 50% or joint and 100 to your spouse?
no, she gets 50%. Whoever dies first.
Okay.
gets
And does it have
50%.
a pop-up provision on your pension so that if she predeceases you, the pension actually accelerates back to the original amount?
You know what? I have all that stuff. I mean, they have even 5 years certain, 10 years
Okay.
certain,
Yeah.
15
So
years
here's-
certain,
yeah.
20 years certain.
You need an advisor, because this is, by the way, every number you look at is the same to them, actuarially speaking. So all those certain,
assuming normal life expectancy.
life expectancy,
Because they don't medically underwrite these annuities.
which is weird.
Pension.
But that's why you actually have to, and it's not an easy conversation to have. You have to actually look at, life expectancies and put some sort of predictors on there. So if you called today and you were smoking 3 packs of cigarettes and drinking a fifth,
Take the lump sum.
I'd actually call you Uncle William. but
You guys are in the will, so don't worry.
I think, you would take the lump sum.
Yeah, William, you got all the information you're gonna get out of us on this phone call. Really, go see an advisor. Either it's go see one of. I mean, you can visit with one of our advisors, either in person or via Zoom if you want, or go find another advisor that you feel comfortable.
But you're ready to
It's going to be
retire.
It'll be worth your time.
You're ready to
have
retire.
someone.
I'm sorry. Can I Zoom with one of your advisors?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We've had
I thought I
thousands
had to
of
live
them.
in the area.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
got clients in every state. Well, we have offices all over. We have many offices as well, but we've got.
Yeah. We do a lot. I don't know what percentage of the Zoom meetings we have. We have 75 advisors, something like that.
90.
I'm
We have
in Southern
90
California,
advisors?
That's what I heard the other day.
Oh, we have a lot of advisors. Anyway, appreciate the call. Just
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
well,
Appreciate
just contact us and we'll set you up for a meeting.
Yeah, if you would like.
Appreciate
I will.
If not,
Thank you
find
so
someone
much.
you trust. We appreciate it, and good luck. And
Well, actually, he got good news from us this time. Apparently, last time he wasn't ready. I remember the call.
I don't remember the call.
I do remember the call.
out of thousands of calls you've had,
It's
just
one of the
before you-
rare circumstances where you actually tell someone that they should start.
While
Social
they're still
Security,
working at a high income, start
he-
Social Security.
but he was over the normal retirement age, and he had children,
minor children,
which
which meant that once because if you're retired of retirement age, receiving Social Security, whether or not you're working, and you've got minor children, either they're your own or adopted, but the children, you can receive. They receive a Social Security benefit.
yes,
is how it works.
which is where people say, "Well, mine goes up by 8% every year." Yeah, that's true, but the benefit that
Oh,
you're going
yeah,
to receive
it's
on
just
the
free cash.
and if you miss the
Lost
window,
and gone forever. There's no
you
getting
miss
back.
the
Yeah.
window, and you very rarely actually get those chances where you actually see that.
All right, let's continue on with calls here at Allworth Money Matters.
By the way, if you're taking care, I'm sorry, back to this. If you're Social Security, I have had grandmothers adopt their grandchildren because they were caring for them
yes,
full time in order to get money
yes.
from Social Security once they became adopted. Essentially, the grandmother's children were incapacitated because of some mental or drug problems.
Whatever.
And they're taking care of the kids full time, like adopt
It
them.
happens. I mean, the interesting thing about life in general, but retirement, you can make plans, but then life tends to happen, right?
They are not going to go as planned.
And there's always something that goes a little. I mean, every once in a while, you take someone's life, it's like everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
But that's the rarity. Normally, things happen. There are people end up raising their grandkids during retirement. There are people that. We had one gentleman. He died at his retirement party.
Yes.
That's the worst case I think of. So here's a spouse that had this retirement dreams shattered, right? So those things, life happens. Having a good financial plan in place is one that can flex regardless of what throws at you at retirement. And if you got a good advisor on your side working with you when those circumstances present themselves, when they arrive, when they come upon you, you've got someone to help guide you and help you navigate through those things so you can still maintain your financial independence regardless of what happens. Anyway, let's talk with Rudy. Rudy with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hey, thanks, guys. Your show's both educational and entertaining, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
What I've been reading lately about, the Waltons have all their investments, a majority of them, in an LLC. Bill Gates has his Cascade LLC. I even heard Mark Ramsey say he doesn't own anything personally. It's all in an LLC. So I wanted to bounce this question off you about placing your investments into an LLC. And I've read up enough to be dangerous about it, both for tax advantages and for liability. The liability is probably not as important because you can go out and get umbrella insurance if you're worried about liability. But the tax advantages, and I guess
what tax advantages?
Well, the LLC, I'm not talking about an LLC with just pass through, but rather an LLC designed as a C Corp where all of the both capital gains and any dividends and so forth would remain there. There are the ability to expenses. So, for example, if I have an advisor, I'm paying them 1.5%. Could I write off those expenses? The other thing is attempting to keep my salary, both my pension and my Social Security, at where it is, because I learned the first year when I turned 65 and I had sold some options a couple of years earlier, I was paying the first year Medicare $540 out of my Social Security plus supplemental. It's like $650.
Yeah.
So I know that
it's means tested and makes people who have the means pay much more.
So before we get into this, is your net worth greater than $20 million?
No, it is not.
Is it greater than $10 million?
It's $6.5 million.
Okay. So, in full disclosure, I own my own LLC, and Scott and I own a couple LLCs together.
But not all my assets are in LLCs, and they're pass-through entities, disregarded entities. They're not.
They're just business structures that allow them to operate as independent business structures.
And there's an additional tax, LLC tax, depending on the state that you end up having to pay.
That's right. And filing and tax returns, right? But I have none of my passive investments,
like your stocks or that sort of thing,
in an LLC. No. None of them.
And if you put them in a C Corp structure, you're subject to dual taxation on it.
So you can leave it in the corporation,
but you can't forever because there's that penalty if you have what do they call it?
Not enough if you don't distribute enough.
Yeah.
So,
but if you leave it in the C Corp and then invest it further as part
you
of the
can't do that indefinitely.
It's going to come out. It's going to come out.
So
I forget what they call that though, because years ago, this was a loophole that people did years ago. They would set up a C corporation. The Tax Reform Act of '86 essentially pulled out the rug, and almost no one does C corps anymore, except for the larger businesses. And it's that retained earnings. You can't have excess retained earnings.
Yep.
Okay. So why do the Gateses and the Waldens? Is it liability or is it what's the advantage?
No, it's probably more for estate planning than anything else.
Because if let's say you divide your assets amongst your kids, and let's say you have, let's just say it's $6 million. You've got 6 kids. Each kid is going to have $1 million ownership. If you set up an LLC and have everything in this LLC, now your child has an interest, a 1/6 interest. It's not an undivided interest. It's a divided interest. They have a minority interest in something that's totally non-marketable.
And then if you set it up
from a planning purposes, maybe that's not really worth $1 million. If they wanted to go sell their interest to somebody else, someone else goes, wait a minute, what rights do I have to this? So they're going to say, it's not worth $1 million. It's worth less. So they'll use LLCs to push down the value of their estates.
And the reason they do that is because they have a divided interest. So let's say we took $100 million in Microsoft stock, and I got 4 kids, and I gave each one of them $25 million, right? and this is an LLC. But none of them can act independently in the LLC, so they can't sell their $25 million worth of stock. So for estate tax purposes, you look at it and you go,
But even the IRS is starting to come down if it's just done for estate tax.
So it has to do with It has to do with estate taxes and actually owning minority interest in order to bring the current value down for estate tax purposes. That is what most of the planning is done around. Are you married?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to worry about estate taxes under the current rules until you're over $23 million.
Yeah, and I guess my focus wasn't on estate tax and so forth. It was, are there other tax benefits? In other words,
No.
I guess I'm asking your experience. You have a lot of clients.
C Corp's not going to work for you. You can't leave the money in there forever, and then you end up paying taxes when it comes out. And you pay tax internally, and then you pay tax as a taxable dividend.
And if they're all investments and they're not individual real estate with different owners on there, I couldn't think of a single reason why you would even put any of it in an LLC.
Okay, so you do not advise your clients to invest in an LLC, given my type of situation.
That's right. That's right. And the LLC I own myself and I own with Scott. It's because of the business structure of actually what I own, which is real estate. It has nothing to do with my investments. My investments are all in my name. Scott?
Mine as well.
Okay.
Well, my trust, family trust.
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
So, okay, I understand. So, one of the examples people were saying that if you have like a real estate investment trust in there and there's a shareholders meeting, you can go to shareholders meeting. I don't know, can you do that?
Good. Yep. Yeah, you can do that. It's not worth it. Anyway, appreciate the call.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone's trying to pitch you something. They're probably trying to sell you a life insurance product as you go through this. That would be my guess. Yeah. And anytime someone tells you, oh, this is what the Rockefellers do or this is what the Walton family
But they didn't explain that actually that put shareholder meeting going to expensing that. They didn't talk about the cost of the tax return or actually setting up the LLC or maintaining
or the additional income tax you pay. Even an LLC, you've got to pay. Most states charge you a tax on it each year.
Yeah.
So you got to think of those. Anyway, we're out of time. It's been great being with you again. If you want to be part of our retirement income planning clinic, they begin April the 27th, this Tuesday. Allworthfinancial.com. We'll see you next week.
This program has been brought to you by Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.